Hey everybody, I just wanted to do a quick little video here just to kind of show you what to look for when you're drawing these mannequin poses. Now I know I've shared some other video links for you before and you guys might not even need this, but I just wanted you guys to, have a sense of, when you're looking at a reference photo like this with a live model, or if you're looking at, a real person, how are you going to break down some of these forms into simpler shapes? Okay, so I've got just a couple of images up here from Pinterest that I just looked up really simply, just by using some basic keywords. But any reference you have will do. I like this one just because I like the kind of sweeping curve in her pose. I like the way the weight's distributed. So I'm going to quickly show you how to do this. Now, one thing is you want to keep in mind, look at, again, the angle of her shoulders and her hips. You see how the shoulders are kind of tilting down like this way, and the hips are kind of doing this. So you want to definitely keep that in mind as you draw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just have my reference, up, and I'm going to be looking at it as I draw. So what I've got here, I'm going to just kind of hold the camera. I'm just going to even draw like a little angle, a little line for the shoulders. And just very faintly kind of almost draw like that little sweep of her back leg. Okay. And then you've kind of got this angle here for the hips. And then I'm just, again, thinking about that mannequin form. Just start very lightly. Got her head there. Her head is pointing this way to the left. So I'm going to put a little midline here to kind of show that like the front of her face is pointing in this direction. And it's really, again, just all cylinders and cubes. Okay, her upper torso is kind of like, you can either draw it as an oval, or I'm just going to kind of draw it as almost like a cubic shape, like that. There are her shoulders. She's got one arm up here like this. This is kind of a cylinder. This is kind of a cylinder. And again, you just want to pay attention to, the width of each of these parts, right? Again, an arm is basically just two separate cylinders, but they're not perfectly straight. You've actually got muscles and things in here. But for now, you can just draw them as cylinders and then add the connecting details later. Then you've got her other arm, which would kind of connect on the side of this sphere, this cube, over here. And it's kind of coming out like this. And again, I'm looking at the photo reference, and I'm trying to determine how long each of these pieces is in proportion to one another. Again, I'm just going to very lightly rough it in. There's another smaller cube here. And notice these are tilting at two different angles. So I'm just imagining like a small box tilting downward at this angle. I would actually, now that I'm looking at it, make the angle even more pronounced. All right, and she has one leg kind of coming out in front, kind of doing this, and then her back leg is kind of going behind her. So, you can just kind of sketch out a very faint line at first, drawing a little darker than it needs to be. And I'm just going to, draw the upper leg. I'm going to draw these as two separate cylinders, okay? This one is coming forward and kind of, I'm seeing the front of the bottom of the cylinder. So it's, imagine a cylinder that's doing this, right? And then for the back leg, I've got a cylinder that's pointing downward. So now I'm seeing the top of it, right? So coming this way, I'm seeing the bottom. Coming this way, I'm seeing the top. So I'm drawing like a downward kind of cylinder. And then, you know, she's a dancer, so she's on her tippy toes here. So I'm just going to kind of draw these little shapes, okay? And that's basically... I'll pull out here so you can see it. That's basically the gesture. You can see it only took me like a couple of minutes to really get that down. Now I'm going to go in and tweak things a little bit. Again, you don't need to add a whole lot of detail here. But I'm just going to go in and again, I drew this a little darker than you normally would need to. But now I'm going to go in and start smoothing out the edges. Kind of showing her. It's like where her rib cage would be. Her hips are sticking out. Her shoulder and neck. I don't need to worry about, again, this is just a mannequin pose, so I don't need to worry too much about facial features or hair. I'm just trying to get the basic pose down, okay? So there we go. And I ran out of a little room here, but like, you know, her hand is going to extend a little past here. I should have scooted this over a little more, but you guys get the idea. You see how I did that? I just, you know, looked at the pose. There it is. I determined, you know, the basic sweeping motion. I kind of drew my directional line, swooping down, do the head, and then I just kind of blocked out all of the forms with it's either a sphere, cubes, or cylinders. And that's basically it. All right, so you're just going to do that. Here's another one in the series. This is another nice pose where, again, she has a very similar stance, but, you know, her arms are down and it's a little more of a closed form. So it'd be the same kind of a thing where I'm basically just, again, looking for the, actually, can I do this on this page? Yeah, there we go. I'll try to draw this a little bit smaller. Again, her back is arched, you know, kind of backwards. Okay, her head is kind of up here. Again, you kind of always want to start with the head. Again, note the angles of the shoulders and the hips. Shoulders are pretty much at the same angle. You can do it with ovals too. I'll do this one with ovals. Okay, got the upper torso. It helps to kind of draw it in a little bit in 3D, you know. I like to give myself some midlines or something just so I know like what direction things are pointing in. And again, you know, this can start out as almost like a scribbly kind of, I'm doing the wrong one. This can kind of start as a scribbly kind of a stick figure almost. Again, looking at proportions, looking at the distance from the hand to the head, looking at the negative space between the form, that sort of thing. And again, I'm not worrying about details. Legs extended a little further out. And this one's kind of got a little bit of a curve to it, almost like a little mini S curve. Let's go in that way. Okay. Now I can go in and start getting a little more specific with the shapes. It's kind of hard to draw this with one hand holding the camera, but Doing my best here. All right, and I don't know. I think I drew that leg a little too far out. I'll bring it a little closer. Okay. It's important that you draw each part of the arm and leg as two separate cylinders, at least early on. All right, and again, her head is pointing this way, so I'll put my midline kind of there so that she's looking in that direction. All right, so just in a couple of minutes, I've kind of been able to rough out the basic gesture of this form, with the mannequin style. And that's all you need for this stage, right? And again, it's a little scribbly, it's a little rough, but it's good enough for what we're doing it for. You might want to tighten this up slightly, but you just want to practice doing as many of these as possible, and you'll get the hang of it, okay? So I'm going to clean this up a little bit more, but I think you guys get the idea. Again, you want to go back in and connect things a little better. And of course, if this was a, more extended drawing, then I would worry about, adding more details on top of this and kind of going from there. But for what we're doing now in this early stage, I just want you guys to get used to the proportions. So I'm going to double check what's here with what's there, and make sure things are accurate. And if not, I'll make little tweaks as needed. All right, but right now we're just worrying about the proportions. Okay, is this figure about 8 heads tall? If I were to measure, I'd say pretty much, yeah. Are the arms and the legs long enough, or is each part proportional to these other parts here? Okay, that's what you're focusing on right now. I don't care about her hair or her clothing. I just want to get the basic shape, the basic gesture and flow down. Because once you can do that, then you can basically draw any figure. Okay. So that's it. Again, hopefully you found this helpful. You may not have needed it, but I figured I would at least just show you kind of how I do it. So yeah, this is what we're working on for Friday. Try to get at least 25 of these done. You can see these only took me not too long, so you can probably knock out at least, I would hope, 6 or more of these in one class period, if not more. So, okay, that's it. Later.